Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Babylon 5 Retrospective Season 4 No Surrender, No Retreat. This week on the program, we're looking at Episode 4 Falling Toward Apotheosis. I always get that wrong. I think I said it right this time. But before we get into anything, I have to welcome my co-host, the man who would be happy to see you all burn so that he could achieve Godhead. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, Babylon 5 fans.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, good evening. Who do we have in the chat today? We got maybe people like this episode. We got a fair number of people here. It says 8 so far. That's pretty good for the show starting right off the bat. Who do we got? We got, of course, Dave is in the chat. Good to see you again, Dave. Greetings and sending greetings from the Narn delegation. Yes, your Narn buddy is going to have a bit of a problem today. A little bit. Keith Studley. Hey, good to see you again. This should be an interesting episode. I think interesting discussion about this, especially with the Garibaldi stuff for me. Do gods need to wear underwear? I don't know. It's a good question. Outpost Nerd is in the chat. Good to see you. And is this Jeff posting from different accounts again? All right. Well, keep our
trying to pad the numbers.
Add those numbers. We'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah. Nothing to fear, of course. Yes, Death Angel Shadow is here. Yes.
And he's gone.
Oh, we're popping in and out again. It'll sort itself out. All right. We are good to go. Okay. I think that let's bring our panelists for today. Of course, we have our regular co-panelist, Death Angel Shadow, back from his trip to
everywhere.
His globe trotting.
Yes, various places and sundries. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right.
And where did you go again? Where were you?
Jeez,
you missed your job the last 2 weeks, man.
I know. Well, I tried to give you a video, and I heard you had a hard time with it. I'm like,
yeah. I sat. It's a 6-minute video. I sat for 2.5. It was 2.5 hours trying to load it up.
No, I don't blame you.
Work.
I don't blame you. No, I was week before last. I was in North Texas, and then my flight got delayed 3 times, and then finally canceled. So I had to pony up for an extra night at the hotel. And then got home the next early morning because it was delayed a few times. They had to bring in a new plane and a new crew and from a different plane, just all kinds of, it was at any rate. And then this past week I was in central New York in Utica, near Syracuse, and both of them were cons. Both of them were awesome. I talked to a bunch of people and made a bunch of connections, and we got some stuff that Cam and I are in the planning stages of, and Dan, I suppose.
All right, and I'm sure you're going to give all the download about both of them on your channel in the next.
Oh yeah,
little bit. Yeah. All right, so check that out if you want to hear about Jeff's adventures. Let's bring on our special guest for today. Of course, Madman is our.
Never fear, Madman is here.
He's special.
He's here, yes, welcome.
Welcome. Oh, so it's special. Let's talk about the man who's living off Denny's for a day.
Jesus, let me tell you, I'm like, this airport is huge, right? And like the only 2 restaurants around me is the one in the hotel and the 3rd-tier Denny's. I mean, this is not like your grade A Denny. This is like C or D grade Denny's.
What is
and that was it?
Grade Denny's. How bad is that? I mean,
I ordered home fries with my French toast, and I got French fries. So you tell me.
And meanwhile, and I gotta bust you on this one again. You went to Texas and didn't even have any barbecue.
Where was I couldn't go nowhere.
That's vegan.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm busting on him. I said you could have had a little piece.
I did.
Go to the home of the barbecue, and you don't have barbecue.
My experience with cons is it's difficult to get to these other places.
I did go out. Ty Beard. I took a death-defying ride against my own promising in a Cybertruck of doom.
Oh, cool.
I swore I'd never ride in one.
Was it? How
Well,
was the ride?
and now I probably never will ride in one again.
Oh, that bad, eh? Oh.
It-
There's one in our area I see driving on the roads every once in a while. It's like one guy in a hole out of like a million people.
Yeah, no, his possessed Cybertruck. No, he was just bragging about how he had 12,000 miles on it, and not one incident of any major thing. You know, he's got me, Jeff Talanian, who created Hyperborea and worked for TSR back in the day, and an artist, and then Eric Tenkar runs Tenkar's Tavern, another big YouTuber in the D&D sphere, riding shotgun. The damn thing turns on to go down the exit ramp from the highway. So I guess that 12,000, you get first 12,000 miles, you're good, but the 12,000 first, forget it.
That one doesn't count.
Yeah, right. Anyway, stories. I got stories.
Yeah, and,
right.
and of course, doesn't take a trip down to see the fortress on his way back. No, I'm kidding.
I flew, dude.
No, not
My
from
arms
New
are
York?
hurting.
New York.
You drove back from New York.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Oh, you're talking about what's with all the Excelsiors on your license plates? I'm
On the
like,
upstate? Oh yeah, they love that. They love that on the license plate in upstate.
I thought I was like, what is this, a Spider-Man movie or something?
Like,
no. That's an upstate thing. You know, they just love it's. You know, down here in the tri-state area, it's Empire State. You go up north, it's Excelsior.
Well, how many
Yeah.
Excelsior plates can you have?
A lot.
Oh, a lot.
It's like where where most states have like their county or whatever. It just says Excelsior.
oh, so instead of saying, strong
It's
and free or live free or die, it says Excelsior.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's
So
not the. It's not a.
It's not like a
identity
personalized plate.
It's not
No.
the personal plate.
Yeah.
No, it's like literally the style of plate that everybody buys.
I see.
All right. Enough
Okay.
chit chat. Let's get on with the show.
Let's do it.
The key stuff we're working on. All right, we're doing
Trivia.
let's do a trivia. Yes, of course. Last week's trivia first. Thank you, Cam. Last week's trivia. What is Ivanova's response to Mark says, "I'm picking something up"? What was the name of the Bricari who told Delin about the rally? What races are the two ambassadors who led the rally? According to Lita, what did the Vorlon see the shadow influence, and which two cities does Ivanova want to visit on Earth? All right, of course. You remember from watching the show last week, the answers of course, she says a unicorn, kind of jokingly. Picking something up, what, a unicorn? And then the Bricari's name was Lethki. It's Drazi and the Hayich. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And of course, infection is what the Vorlon see the shadow as, infection. And one of them wants to visit St. Petersburg and Paris. Petersburg because her father's buried there, and Paris because, I don't know.
It's Paris.
It's Paris.
She likes dirty.
I know
French
people
cities.
goes to Paris. They say it smells of urine.
I hear that about New York City too. So
Hey.
No. It smells like weed now.
Oh my God,
Thank
it does
you, Cam.
everywhere. Oh my
Thank
God.
you, Cam. Yes, we don't have the piss smell because the piss smell is covered by the pot smell.
The weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
There
Beautiful.
was one of them stores across the street from the hotel.
Oh,
Jeez, I mean, you guys are behind the times. There's one on every block around here.
I'm sure.
There's none
No,
around.
no, Jeff. That's the only one in the entire upstate valley.
Yeah, no, there was a lot in
Really?
Yeah.
Because the licenses are still going through. That's why.
Don't make me bring out the
But you
cat.
could smell the shit.
Okay. Let's
I'm
Smell
pulling
it
out the
everywhere.
cat sound.
You
Let's go.
smell it everywhere. Anyway, yeah. Cat,
Yeah,
All right.
later on.
Cam, please take us.
Yes. Okay. Episode 70 overall, season 4, episode 4, Falling Towards Apotheosis, written by J. Michael Straczynski. Original air date November 25th, 1996. Episode production order 404. As a first step toward ending the war, Sheridan decides to act against the new Vorlon ambassador, and Jakar faces torture at the hands of Emperor Cartagia.
All right.
Jump right to the end, don't you?
and are detailed, a little bit more detailed. Of course, the episode starts off with a special message on the Babcom, which is Vonnegut giving it, talking about refugees and how the Vorlons have deployed this planet killer weapon. So everyone knows this now. And then it cuts to a hysterical woman who's having trouble in a crowd for some reason. I don't know why. But she falls down and she's helped up by Sheridan. And we kind of see this sort of like, she's like, is that him? Did he came back from the dead? It kind of showing us this worshipfulness of Sheridan that seems to be going on. And then it cuts to Sheridan and Lorian talking and a little back and forth. And Lorian basically says, you know, you'll fail to save them all. And he's like, and Sheridan's like, I'm going to try. Then we have the intro and we come back and it's Garibaldi. He is watching the some security cam footage. He says he's watching Lorian. Zach comes in. He says he's watching Lorian, or is he? Is he watching Lorian or Sheridan? Don't know. He is told that he just needs to be checked by Franklin and he can go back to work. Zach asks him if he's okay. He gets angry, saying, hey, why is everyone always asking me if I'm okay? You know, no one asked Sheridan that. He came back from the dead and everyone seems to be hunky-dory, but everybody's, you know, bugging Garibaldi. So he seems a little bit bitter about that. A little bit out of Garibaldi's character, I think, for me, but we'll talk about that. Okay, so there's a couple of different things going on. I'll go through them here. Let's go to Londo, first of all. Londo's on Centauri Prime. We've got Morden shows up. He wants to defend. He wants the Centauri to defend the ships, his ships, by putting up all kinds of ships up in Centauri space, and then the Vorlons will ignore him. But the Emperor says, sure, no problem. When he leaves, he then says, no, we're not going to do that. I have a better plan. Let the Vorlons come, blow up Centauri Prime, and that will be like a fire towards my godhood. And of course, Londo is quite shocked and just says sort of like, okay. Later we see Londo is invited into the Emperor's quote headroom, which he's got all the Sever's head and is, you know, is talking to them. And we see, you know, Londo's like, that's obviously it stinks because he's acting like, oh, this is horrible. Though the Emperor doesn't seem to mind.
Snicks.
Londo later comes to the Emperor and says, listen, gods need followers. What you should do is you should go to Narn. We'll try Jakar there, and then you come back right in time, and then you can achieve your godhood and everything. Obviously, Londo's setting this up. We assume he's going to try to kill the Emperor on Narn. It might be easier there. And the very last part of the episode is they say, hey, we're going to pluck out Jakard's eye. So now we know where he gets his, because the Emperor doesn't like the way Jakard's looking at him. Yeah. So we know where he gets his patch. Meanwhile, Garibaldi he goes back to work. He is Franklin kind of checks him out, and it's obvious he's checking him for the shadow programming stuff to us. There is a flash. He has a bit of a flashback to gloves when Franklin's putting on gloves. And as he's leaving, Sheridan comes in and says, you know, what's the results of my test? We don't know anything about that. Meanwhile, let's do, I don't know. Let's go with the sort of the command stuff that's going on. They're in the command, the war room. Garibaldi is complaining. He's kind of negative. Sheridan comes in and he says that we got to get. Garibaldi makes the comment about Sheridan being seen as the second coming. Directly says that. Sheridan comes in. He says we got to get rid of the Vorlons. He sends Garibaldi on a mission, and he says, escort the Vorlon off the ship. And of course, he says, listen, the Vorlon's not going to listen. It's probably going to be a battle fight. And Sheridan goes, that's okay. I'm expecting it. Meanwhile, Lorian makes some comments about you've never seen a Vorlon enraged. It's more powerful than you can imagine. That's a little bit interesting. And Garibaldi confronts the Vorlon. There's a bit of a battle. We see some funky Vorlon powers going on. And I'll put the rest of this into the Sheridan Delin stuff. We've got Ivanova right at the beginning. Sheridan remarks to Delin. Ivanova appears to be afraid. She's not normally afraid. She appears to be afraid when she's talking on the Babylon 5 on the Babcom. Londo calls Sheridan and asks to confirm and gets confirmation that, the Vorlon are blasting planets, and it's about 7 days before they'll be at Centauri Prime, it looks like. Then, as we find out, this is part of Sheridan's plan. After the Garibaldi loses the battle, Lita goes to Kosh 2.0 and tells him that she thinks there's a piece of Kosh in a human. Kosh 2.0 says that's intolerable. She leads them. She says, all right, I'm going to lead you to the guy. They start walking around, and the Vorlon gets a little suspicious, says, open your thoughts to me. There's something wrong. You're not acting right. And she leads them into some sort of electronic cage trap. All this electricity and kind of stuff goes out, and it seems to be damaging Kosh 2.0. There is some of the security guys come in and start firing on them. So meanwhile, the Vorlon leaves. Meanwhile, the Vorlon ship is trying to leave. During this blasting back and forth, the Vorlon leaves his shell and seems to be floating around like some sort of ghost up at the top. It sees Delin and goes to attack him. Sheridan jumps in the way, and it hits Sheridan. And that's when what appears to be parts of
The real Kosh.
Lorien says later, Kosh and maybe parts of Lorien come out, and these things start rolling around with each other, screaming and fighting. They leave the ship and they get into the Vorlon ambassador ship, which is leaving. Lorien then fixes Sheridan. He seems to be damaged or dead again or something. Meanwhile, Delin, and Sheridan and Lorien, they have a discussion. He basically tells Delin they only have 20 years left. Delin is sad, and Sheridan asks for Delin to marry him. They're engaged now. And at the end of the episode, we also find out Garibaldi and Ivanova talking, and a big fleet is being set up. All these ships are coming in. They're getting ready for some sort of big attack. And that's about it. Cam, turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, we've got, I guess I'd say the A plot is the goings on Babylon 5. It's kind of, there's a number of different ones, but I'll break it into the Sheridan and the Garibaldi portions, I guess, is kind of the A plot. And then we've got Centauri Prime as the B plot. Also with the Babylon 5 plot, I guess you could say the Ivanova reporting, on the Vorlon activities, is kind of its own little encapsulated thing.
Ivanova headline news.
Yeah. Well, and let's start with that, because that's where the episode starts out, is with this report from Ivanova as she's talking about meeting ships and refugees and fleeing from all of these various attacks, which presumably they're blowing up planets a lot.
I do have the full line on that. Almost the full line.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
It says, we're preempting your normal Babcom service to bring you another update in the continuing crisis. 2 more deep-range planetary colonies have been eliminated by the Volon forces. This footage has been taken as the Volon fleet is closing in on Ventari 3. The ship is eclipsing the local star and presumes to be their main weapon, a planet killer.
Yeah, and we did actually see that planet killer too.
Right.
They're.
Could you imagine the power of this damn thing? It's almost like the wave motion gun in freaking Star Blazers.
Okay, so I guess we could talk about that, but right after this, it comes into this scene. Really, right next to the microphone.
Sorry, I'm drinking for this one, man. This is a pretty dangerous one.
Yeah.
Getting some rum.
And they've been discussing in the chat about this scene where they have this panicked woman. Because Ivanova talks about how there's this influx of people and everything, and then there's this panicked woman in a strangely not too crowded crowd scene in which she seems hysterical and talking about needing to find her family or whatever. She falls down again in a fairly sparse crowd, and honestly, some less than stellar acting. And then, and then Sheridan shows up and lifts her off the ground, picks her up, not physically, but helps her up. And then she's very calm, and so it leads into this whole scene like, oh, and everybody's looking at Sheridan, as some kind of,
he picked up a girl by himself. He's very
pseudo-religious figure. Right? I think it's more about
Second
the fact
coming.
that he's
Messianic figure.
Yeah. Okay, what do you guys think of this scene? Jeff, let's start with Jeff. Let's start with you since you've been gone for a while.
Well, I mean, he's walking through the crowd. I don't know if I think he's kind of people are kind of in awe. They're all kind of crowding around him, and yeah, I think it very much was a messianic kind of like he's almost like Jesus. He's come back from the dead, so to speak.
Yeah.
Zahadum and all that stuff, and and people are like, "Is it true? He's really was he really dead?" And what's going on? And Zach's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I ain't got no idea. This place is nuts."
Yeah, so, I did like Zach. He's kind of like, who knows?
He's like, I don't get it. I don't know what the hell.
Outpost Nerd, it was not that crowded, dude. It was the scene stood out like a sore thumb.
The scene was a bit lame. It did not. I understand what they're trying to get through, is what Jeff says, the Christ-like messianic figure, but it was not. I mean,
it was the camera shot.
Weren't
even close in
the other
camera shot.
Yeah. The other guys were not really even pushing that hard. They were just kind of just like, some of the aliens were just sort of like just walking in place and stuff. And
excuse me, let me get by you there.
Sorry. And she's like,
and he just kind of bends down and helps the poor woman up,
This was very, in my opinion, this was badly. This was rough. It's like,
I thought.
And I don't want to pick on the woman, but it's like the hysteria just did not match the set.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of milling around and kind of, but she's falling. It's like, wait, what? It's not like they were pressing and stuff like that.
Everyone else is kind of looking at her like, is this like, they should be looking around. Is this candid camera? Is somebody filming a TikTok? That's what they should have been.
What do you think, man?
Again, this episode, of course, this season's rushed, of course, to this point. But I think what JMS was, and I could be wrong, was trying to emphasize is that there are those who are just like trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening next. She's in crisis. She's trying to find her family, and then she's gotten lost, and then suddenly like a bright light. Here's her savior. John Sheridan comes in on there, and people just moves away. And he just walks her through, and it's like almost like Jesus walking on water in a way in a moment.
You're right.
To that point, and it's like and they're walking. Like you said before, it's like he said, I heard he came back from the dead, and you hear as they're going by, and Lorian saying, I heard. They need to believe, not me. You can't save them all. I can try. You'll fail. We'll see. That line to the point, because it's I've said this, Sheridan was dead. Yes, 100%. Sheridan was dead. He's been brought back to life. He's come back to Babylon 5, and basically he's become a figurehead on Babylon 5 now. Everybody is looking at him, saying, they're saying now, he's the light that's going to bring us victory to that point. He's going to, even though we're still afraid because, you got the Volons out there mad as hell with planet killers. Who knows what the Shadows got coming up, because they still haven't hit back yet. What's going on with them? But yet, here's Sheridan in the middle going like, don't worry, I got it.
Yeah, he's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, I see what they're going for, and I don't mind it, but I just the scene didn't work for me.
I know. It's a poor scene. It could have been done much better. And you're right. But again, rush job. TNT situation. here's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point as well. I see what they're going for. They're trying to get the point across. Just not very well executed.
Yeah, just to call up the chat, Outpost Nerd retains the claim that yes, it was crowded. Just for the record. Okay, so then we move over to Garibaldi, and Zach comes to see him, and this is like you said, he was looking at security footage, supposedly of Lorian, and so him and Zach have this scene. Man, you want to talk about this one?
Which scene again? I'm sorry. Which scene was that?
This is where Zach comes to see Garibaldi
and
tell him
quarters.
Yeah, and tell him that he has to be checked out one more time by Franklin, but then he's good to go back.
Basically, he shows up to his room, and there's Garibaldi flipping through surveillance, and it's like, hey, what's going on? And then he's like, wait a minute, isn't that surveillance footage on there? Didn't they tell you to take it easy, on there? But Garibaldi ain't gonna sit, while things are going on. I mean, if you remember when they found him, they got back and Sheridan showed up and the alarms went off because they didn't know who was coming on board. Where was Garibaldi? In Med Bay, tossing on his clothes to run and try to get involved in the whole situation. And they get into a conversation about, Sheridan, trust me. And, we could see eye to eye on things, to the situation. Now, he just doesn't want to speak to me. He doesn't want to talk to me and tell me, this whole situation. And, I don't trust this guy, Lorian. I don't know what he is. What's he doing? Does he have a hand in, is Sheridan a puppet now? And then this Lorian is controlling him to the situation. I mean, Sheridan was, Kosh was sort of like a mentor to Sheridan. Is Lorian sort of almost this way, or is he not? And he's trying to figure out. But then of course, Zach Stone says, "Listen, I've just been told, go to Med Bay. Doc wants to check you out for one more time, and if everything works out, you're back on duty. Take it for what it is." To that point.
Yep. And I want to talk more about this. What Garibaldi's saying. In it. Well, we can talk about it any time, I suppose. But I guess let's go around here. But that's an important point you brought up. And I guess we can talk about the part where he does go to see Franklin, and Franklin runs this other test on him, basically checking to see if he's got the implant that they found in the investor's lady friend, indicating that he would have been plugged into a shadow ship or something like that. One of the weapons. Although I don't know why they would expect that.
Wetworks.
What's it called?
Wetworks.
Okay, so Jeff, what do you think about this? The Garibaldi's he's very hostile. He's very agitated.
Yeah, I kind of suspected, or I suspect that there's something more that was done to Garibaldi, but he does make the point that he's like, well, before all this happened, the captain and I we were getting pretty close. We could talk, openly, and he hasn't said two words to me since, So I think that kind of bugs him. But I think it's Sheridan is being safe because we have seen people that have been on the shadow ships, and particularly his now gone wife, what happened to her. So I think he's trying to be safe, but he's also kind of being occupied by Lorian as well, and maybe it's a little bit of jealousy. I don't know. Maybe he's got that detective thing going on. Something doesn't smell right to him, and he's not sure what. You know what I mean? So,
well, let's as we throw.
I hate to say you're a little off on that, Jeff, but we're not at that point yet. When we get to that point, then we'll bring it back up again.
What do you mean? I mean, he did. He did say
Nothing to do with the it has nothing to do with the shadow at this point. It's something else.
Well, okay. This isn't a secret, right? They've already, and which is the point I wanted to bring. Let's get back around to that in 1 second. I want to add in the scene where Jeff, because you talked about Garibaldi saying, "Oh, he's keeping him out" or whatever, but that's explained in the episode. I'm not saying Garibaldi knew it at the time, but when they're having the conference and Garibaldi's kind of mouthing off a bit, before Sheridan comes in, right in the war room. And then he comes in and, Sheridan kind of listens to him for a while. And then he comes up and says, blah, blah, blah. And he talks about this plan, for going after the Vorlon, in which he then says he kept Garibaldi out of it because this seems a little strange to me. And I don't know. It's like, yeah, he didn't want the Vorlon to be able to read Garibaldi's mind or something.
I think. Well, yeah, because he needed Garibaldi to take care of the Vorlon. He needed Garrett. Well, I mean, that's the way he told Garibaldi. He's like, look, the Vorlon, one way or another, has to be out of here. We got to get rid of him. So he's like, okay. So I think he is keeping him at a distance because he doesn't want to. We don't know how extensive the Vorlon's.
Okay, okay. Think about this though. Why would the Vorlon be like, "Oh, I'm going to focus on Garibaldi and read his mind," when all these other people know about this plan? It's like, why wouldn't he read?
Well, he's not there. It's not there that everybody knows about the plan. It's just basically the way it's mentioned is that Sheridan goes, "We don't know how telepathic aligned that the Volons have. We know they are telepathic because when Kosh died, all the Volons knew he died. So there was some sort of telepathy type situation between all the Volons. So it's like Sheridan kept the plan to himself until that moment in the war room, because even Zach was like, "Well, we don't know." And Zach would say, "Well, he has a good reason." He would have came out and says, yeah, to that point. But no, it's anyone who would have walked by. Anybody walking by on there, because Lorianne and Sheridan are sort of almost connected at this point. So basically, in a way, it's sort of his armor in a way. Everybody else, the Volon may have picked up on.
Right, and I think he's trying to keep Garibaldi out of the loop so that he can pull this plan that we're talking about.
Okay, well, you're right. That's what he said, Jeff. And this is why it doesn't make sense to me, because he's like, I'm keeping Garibaldi specifically out of this, implying that he wasn't keeping other people out of it. He wasn't pushing other people away for any reason. So, so the only thing it could be is, well, okay, now Garibaldi, but Garibaldi now does know when he is going to encounter the Vorlon. So none of that makes sense to me. It's like,
I get it. I get it.
Listen to what he said. I get what he said, but listen to what he said. He says, "I want the Volon out of here."
Yep.
That's what he put in his mind. I want the Volon out of here. He didn't say that, hey, listen, we're going to put a trap in the middle of the freaking Zocalo with this electric trap, and we're just going to, just pour fire right into this Volon and pull him out.
So you're saying he discussed the other part of the plan with the other people.
Yes.
And then just gave Garibaldi the ruse, essentially.
The ruse, exactly. So because Garibaldi, when he walks in there, his mind will be read immediately as soon as he walks in that door.
Yep. Vorlon, you got to go. Vorlon, you got to go.
And you got to go. And that's the thing in his mind. Volon, you got to go. We get the hell out of here. You're no longer wanted aboard the Babylon 5 station.
So he was, in fact, deceiving Garibaldi at that point.
Yes.
Also,
yeah. No, you're right about that. Yeah.
Even though he did admit to him, Garibaldi's like, we're going to get wiped out, by this. And
like,
I know.
And that's the whole.
I'm going to fall to my sword. Is that what you want?
Fall my sword. Yeah. I guess if you want me to, that's what I'm going to do.
I mean, wouldn't that part come across to the Vorlon too? Then that he would get the idea that it's like, yes, why are they sending these people to fail?
Well, no,
they're useless humans and they don't know any better.
Yeah. In other words, they're taking the advantage that the Volon is going to say, "Oh yeah, they're going to come after me." Yeah, come on, bring it on. To that thought pattern that there's nothing that can hurt me. And they're going to say they can try and try and try, and here they're sending Garibaldi to try, but he's not going to be successful. Like I
Well,
said, that's what is in his mind.
But you gotta ask him anyways. You can't just go in there blasting to begin with, right?
Right, exactly. They're asking, please
So
leave.
you're asking
or
him to
else.
leave. That's the procedure you would do. If you're doing it with Londo, you do the same thing. Hey,
Okay.
look, you gotta
Why?
go.
Why
and
wouldn't
he
just tell?
sends Garibaldi because it's a bit of a provocation, right? Because he's sending the security as if you're not going to
No,
leave, right?
Maybe,
normally you
but
just
wouldn't you
say
expect that. It's
no.
kind of like
I would expect
you're hostile. We're escorting you off.
Well, I know I would expect in this situation a diplomat would come first and say, "I'm sorry, we've revoking your diplomatic credentials. Please leave." No, you're not going to leave. All right, well then I'm going to get security. That's
Okay,
normally
then
the way. So I think
Keith Studley says it best on the last two chat inserts. He needs to provoke the Vorlon, and it's not supposed to make sense to Garibaldi.
Okay, then
correct.
why would he do anything then except for tell Garibaldi go and evict the Vorlon?
Well, he does.
Because
That's what he does tell him.
Yeah, but that's when
says,
they
"I want him out of
No,
here."
but he also tells him that it's a ruse, and he expects him to lose.
Well, no, he doesn't tell him it's a ruse. He says he
He
expects. When
says, "I
Garibaldi
know."
He
says
says
we're
he
going to
expects it to-
lose, he says,
yeah.
"Yes, I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
I expect you to
and-
fail because I don't think that means necessarily.
Necessarily.
It just means
He's not
They're
gonna
trying
go.
to
He's
drag
not gonna-
out
he's
the
not gonna
Volon
go.
from his
yeah,
room.
it's fighting the good fight even when you're going to lose, right? Like,
But instead of Garibaldi just sending his guys in, it has more weight coming from the chief of security. So that is kind of like at the diplomatic level. If it was just the couple of the security guards going in to do this, it doesn't carry that weight. But now if the chief of security, basically the right hand man for the captain is there, the captain wants you out. Okay, you got to go. You got to go, buddy. You got to pack your shit and get out of here.
Yeah, I understand that part. It doesn't make sense that they would have told. Again, they went to the effort to keep Garibaldi outside of the plan, and then they tip part of the plan.
But
I
the
guess you
thing
guys
is,
don't see it that way.
Lita was the linchpin.
Yeah,
to the
Lita's the
situation.
linchpin.
True.
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
remember when
thinking-
she came
I don't
running in
think-
saying, "Oh my God, are you okay?" To that point,
and
it says,
then the bait, of course, is
of course, yeah. It says
Sheridan's
Kosh is
got
in
a heart
a
of
human
Kosh.
being.
Yeah. He's what? He's trapped in he's keeping one of us
Intolerable.
prisoner. This isn't, right.
Intolerable.
And that's what gets him to leave.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah,
as they get closer, he's
Okay, well then that begs the question also. Why wouldn't you just do the Lita ruse? Just say, "Oh my gosh, I found out,
wanted to be
I scanned
angry.
them and I think Kosh is in one of them."
They wanted him
I
angry
think-
to get him not to think straight, to get
Yeah,
him
to
to
piss him
do
off.
that
get him
anger.
out.
Yep.
hoping that maybe he won't be.
Now
here
I'm
anymore.
okay. I'm going to take care of this crap. I'm going to.
Okay, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
you
and,
guys are
it
putting up good
doesn't
arguments here.
really work because the Vorlon is like immediately suspicious of Lita and goes, "Open your mind to me. What's
Very
going on?"
quickly.
Right. So,
Yeah.
by that time it's too late. Just let me. I would think the Vorlons will do what they ask nicely to do. No, I don't think so. I'm just saying that's the forms you got to follow. You ask them nicely to leave first, and then when they don't, then you send in. Would be the normal thing.
Mhm.
That's how it goes in diplomatic circles. Please, we're revoking your credentials. Please leave. No, all right.
We're expelling all the
Then
diplomats.
we're going to send the army in.
It's an emotional response
Right.
to the situation, what the Volons would expect from human beings.
Yeah. Just let me. Sorry, Cam. Before we go on, we got 14 watching. It says, "Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe like the video, subscribe, help us with those algorithms. We're taking a beating in the algorithms. The small guys are taking it on the chin. So appreciate it if you hit the like and help us out. All right,
And
thanks.
don't forget super chats and memberships.
Oh yeah.
So we got to walk before we can run.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So Garibaldi throughout, again, he's like you said, when he was talking to Zach about Sheridan and everything, and then when he was talking to Ivanova and Franklin before, wait a minute, Franklin was there, right? In the meeting?
Yeah, Franklin
Okay.
was in it.
So,
Yeah.
so and by the way, just a short note, Franklin did clear him, saying, "Oh yeah, you're clean, no shadow, whatever."
Yep.
And then it just so happens that Sheridan came in like right after him, and that's when he asked about his test. But we'll get back to that.
I
But-
thought. Let me just say, as a
Right.
first-time watcher, when that happened, I thought maybe that Sheridan was like a test about something else, like he's testing Garibaldi or other people or something like that. But we later find it's his own personal test. But I was
it was a little bit. It's like it seemed like he was waiting until Garibaldi left to come in.
Because they come in almost immediately. He says, "Let me get the result. Give me the results of my test." And when he said my test, it didn't come to me that it meant about him.
I was the same way back in the 90s. I had the same thought.
Okay. It's like my test or some test that he's putting on Garibaldi or other people or something like that. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
So, in these scenes, Garibaldi is bordering on insubordination, right? He's smarting off a lot, and he says something, and Sheridan's kind of like, "No, Michael, that's," and he throws him the bone, saying, "Yeah, I kept you out of this for a reason," blah blah blah. And Garibaldi is like I said, bordering on insubordination. Now, I guess, because I think this is kind of the end of Garibaldi's real action. So I'd like to move into this other question I'd like to pose to you guys. I forget, it was Jeff or that was talking about Garibaldi. Jeff, I think it was you talking about how Garibaldi's getting suspicious. It's like, oh, what's going on? We were close at one time and now we're not. And da 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 da. All of this is pretty compressed, of course, in time. But all of this falls flat for me because we saw what's going on with Garibaldi. They already tipped their hand about, it's like, okay, the Shadows had him, and then Psychor had him, and they set up this thing. So all of this that could have been a very credible story, saying, well, what is going on with Sheridan? What, are we supposed to be trusting this guy? Suddenly he's putting us against the Vorlon. I guess the Vorlons are the bad guys at this point publicly, but they
are destroying worlds that
Sure, yeah.
I mean, we get that in Ivanova News Network. We get the 3 of the refugee stations now have been destroyed by them.
Come on, Jeff. What's a little genocide? That doesn't make you evil,
right? Yeah.
What I'm saying is that if you're Garibaldi, right, and put yourself in his shoes for a minute, and it's like, oh, Sheridan went to this place that no one returns from, and suddenly he shows up with this guy that nobody knows, and so I'm saying what they're presenting for Garibaldi makes perfect sense. It's like, yeah, you should be suspicious of what's going on here. This is weird, right? But they completely undercut it, in my opinion, by the fact that we show that Garibaldi's been compromised. There is no way that you can see Garibaldi being in the hands of Psychor, being conveniently released. Even Zach is like, yeah, lucky, and to go, oh, well, yeah, what Garibaldi's portraying here must be what we're, a legitimate thing that we're thinking. I mean, it completely undercuts the storyline for me.
I mean, we saw how quickly he was just like let go of, and there was nobody else on the ship at the point when he was rescued, right? Was that the last episode?
Yeah, they ejected him.
They just kind of ejected him, and then the ship blew up. Right. And it's like,
but it was an unknown ship, so only we know what was in that, aboard that ship.
I understand that. I'm saying the audience, right? It's like we already know that Garibaldi is compromised by the Psychor.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, or at least it's a very reasonable. I'm sorry. What was that?
What part of the Psychor?
Well, we don't know that.
But I mean, there's a part of the Psychor that's still that is aligned with the Shadows.
We don't know which side.
We don't know. Yeah, exactly. We don't know.
Yeah. You know what? Outpost brings up a good point here, is taking his feelings and amped them up to 11. Yeah. Garibaldi has had this kind of, little not quite friendly relationship with Sheridan before. They've had some butting heads, right? So for the characters, I think that this isn't unreasonable, that they'd be like, yeah, Garibaldi is agitated. This is a little weird. It's not that his behavior would seem strange to them necessarily.
Well, it's a little amped up, though. It's a little beyond, like it's bordering.
It is amped up.
Insubordination. And I would suggest too that the other side of the coin is that the reason that we are, as the audience, are supposed to be suspicious of Garibaldi is none of the things that he says are echoed in any other character. No other character is suspicious about Sheridan. They're all like, give him big hugs, except for Zach, who's like, oh, I don't know what's going on, sort of thing.
Right, because they're all taken in by the cult of personality that is growing on Sheridan.
Well, but yeah, they are. But that's kind of strange from Ivanova and Delin, well, maybe not Delin, Ivanova, Franklin, you think that maybe they would have some suspicion. But the fact that they're all on board, that makes Garibaldi appear to be more unreasonable, is what I'm saying.
Well, in the
That's what
last
I'm getting from
3
the way
seasons, the emotions that Garibaldi's been through. You have to remember, he's a former alcoholic, problems with his relationships. He was living on Mars, a situation he came when Sinclair brought him over, because of course, obviously, he probably was there during the riots, the
Right.
Mars riots, and just the mentality that Garibaldi has, he doesn't trust. He has the point where everybody lies. There are people who lie because they're trying to hide something, and then there are people who lie that they are truly criminals.
Or they're trying to protect people.
Well,
Or they're
that's a
trying to
typical
protect people.
cop response, right?
Yeah.
Cops assume everybody's lying to them because most of the time
Right.
they deal with
Yeah,
criminals.
you have to
who
think
are
Garibaldi is that pulp comic type or book that
PI slash
the
police.
PI, type, Humphrey Bogart type situation, looking type character that, he's always drinking, well, he's not drinking it now at this point, but, Bogart was always drinking, always getting into a fight, some sort of fight, argument, never was, was straight always with everybody.
Yeah. It's I think the whole thing with Garibaldi, I think they kind of want us to not be sure who to trust at this point. Does Lorien have ulterior motives, or does Garibaldi have ulterior motives, or does Garibaldi have ulterior motives he doesn't even realize he has?
Yeah, he's controlling.
Well, okay, that's kind of what I'm saying, though, is that the suspense that we could be feeling as the audience has been, well, for me, it's been undercut, because now it's like Garibaldi's going off. I'm like, oh, I don't trust anything he says. So all of his theories and things that otherwise would be valid and make me going, is there something going on here? Is there something we didn't see with, the hellish lighting guy who saves Sheridan and comes back and starts, influencing him? All of that to me is undercut.
You're right. I mean, we as the audience are suspicious of, or are being presented to be suspicious of Garibaldi because, like I said, no other character questions this. He's like the one guy out making this stuff up, and we know that he's compromised for sure. Let me just Keith Studley with your comment here about uncomfortable not knowing and digging for the cause of his discomfort. Yeah, is he discomfortable because of the Sheridan and Lorien thing? I'd say yes, for sure. But maybe he's got some discomfort because he knows something happened to him and he can't quite remember it. He's discomfortable about that. He's used to being able to trust himself, and now
can you blame Garibaldi to the situation? Because
no, I can't.
Because you can't. I mean, we know Sheridan died. He died at Zahadum, but now he's with this alien and miraculously resurrected him. And you said earlier, yeah, he has 20 years of life left.
Well, we I mean, it's addressed later on.
Yeah, Snob said it earlier, so it's the situations that are coming down the pike here that when we find out the truth, what happened at Zahadum with Lorien and Sinclair. I mean, Sheridan.
Yeah. Who is Lorien in our philosophical world? It makes you wonder, right? Because he's the first, right? The first one. Mm-hmm. So if you translate it into a religious type sense, the first one that God created was what? Lucifer, right? The light bearer. So you kind of wonder. That's the thing that keeps sticking in my head is Lorien Lucifer?
Yes, some religions that say Lucifer was the first. It varies on what on your beliefs onto the situation. But you always got to remember, there's always a beginning to everything. Yeah. The world came, like Lorien says, the world was started with not just the word.
With the word, a thought.
With a word or a thought. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. It's a little bit. I mean, maybe we'll see more of this later. But as a first-time watcher, I mean, you'd think that Lorien is basically the parent to these two races, if not higher than that because they are worshiping him on Zahadum on the planet. That's why they're there.
They're
So you
paying
think he should be able to just come out and say, "Hey, children, stop fighting," and they would all just be like, "Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, whatever you say." But he's not even trying to do that. He's keeping him who he is secret.
He might have a reason.
I mean,
you never
yeah,
know.
maybe, but it seems a little unusual.
It's ambiguous to those of us that have not seen it yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we don't know what's in Lorian's mind. When it comes
That
to
should
this
be the most
situation.
logical thing for him to do. Just tell your children to stop fighting. Maybe you can't. Maybe he doesn't have any power to like blast them or to make them stop. But just the fact that he's got the influence why not do that? But he hasn't even tried to do that.
Well, let me suggest that they wouldn't be the first children that claim to respect their parent and then don't, right?
For sure, but,
and go off.
Wouldn't you try that first? And then
maybe
he hasn't even tried it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he did.
We don't know.
Maybe he tried that millions of years ago, or
Hey, PB.
Could be.
Hey, PB.
Haven't seen you for a while.
Welcome.
But,
okay, so that. Well, I guess we can get back to that. Okay, let's. Anything anyone else wants to say about the Garibaldi stuff right now?
yeah,
Go ahead.
he spent an awful lot of time showing off his chest again.
I wonder if he gets hazard pay for that.
Don't you love that the sexy hairy chest, Magnum PI chest from the 80s and 90s?
I watched the commentary track tonight. Right?
Oh no.
Yeah, and this is the first time that it wasn't just JMS opining. It was like 5 of them.
Oh.
Yeah, so it had Jerry Doyle was in there, and they were giving him crap about. They said, you're of all the characters, you spent more time in the med bay than any other character. With your shirt off, your hairy shirt, your hairy chest, bearing your hairy chest. Because we've seen him in bed with his hairy chest out there.
You can always say that joke. He says, "Talia, you left me. This is what you're gonna miss."
Yeah.
JMS knows what the ladies like.
Yeah. Well, and he's like, "Oh God, go to the gym." And Jerry's talking to himself, right? Dude, you need to go to the gym. You got a little weight there. But at any rate, that was. Yeah, I don't know. I think they want us to think that there's definitely something wrong that we don't know yet that hasn't been revealed. What exactly? I think it's more than just the trauma, the psychological trauma. I think something for all we know that Psychor can do planted personalities, and for all we know something like that may have happened to Garibaldi.
It doesn't seem like a planted personality because it seems like Garibaldi just amped up a little bit.
Irritated. Well, maybe they found a way to irritate something,
But there's definitely some,
Yeah. They messed with him somehow. Probably trying to get the information that they were looking for on the shadows. They probably
and maybe they messed with his banyakata.
Because we saw what was happening with what's her name, where she was reporting in, and all that stuff before, her personality before they became the dominant one. She was doing some weird shit. So maybe it's kind of the same, He's there to observe and report, but also he's a little irritated because he's suspicious, So, all right, what's next?
Okay, I was gonna go in, kind of, I guess, just follow through with the. Well, maybe we should back up a little bit and let's see, because where does the scene with? You guys want to do the continuation of the Kosh attack, or do you want to go back to the Delenn stuff with Sheridan?
I think we should do the attack first and then go into the.
Yeah, because we were getting to that point where he was being, all the electrical. The trap is sprung.
The trap is sprung on Ukesh.
Sure. So yeah, okay, they do, and like Snob mentioned, you've got Lita that does this kind of fast talking, to get him going. And I guess now that you guys mention it, he was already agitated, and then Lita comes in at this opportune time, and nudges him into the action that they really wanted, which was the trap. And so they again, I'm not sure how they maybe some information from Lorian or whatever, how they would effectively attack him. But they do, they do the electricity, and they're blasting him with the PPGs, and I guess they blow his encounter suit open, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah. The encounter suit fails, so he has no choice but to evacuate it.
Evacuate.
And we see his true form. You see a Vorlon's true form at that point. I think Outpost was mentioning that in the chat earlier.
Yeah, right. They're not seeing him as the religious figures, as
Right.
And I guess that was as I recall, that was something they do consciously, because Kosh was drained from doing that. So it takes effort, I guess, to make that projection into everyone's.
To have that kind of appearance, to do an illusionary type of thing for whatever, But interesting that the color, right? Because we saw the red light, of course, for Kosh 2.0, and it was like kind of a yellowish green light for the real Kosh.
But there's an elephant in the room. If you didn't notice that Lita was able to hold Ukesh out of her mind for a little bit of time.
She was, yeah,
she was holding her own for just a bit. That what has become to Lita at this point? Because if she's able to hold out a Volon for just a small amount of time, I mean, if she was still like a P5, there's no way she could have been not even a P12.
Well, we know that she was modified.
She was modified. But
maybe Kosh kind of did a little more modifications to her than we knew about. Maybe he kind of
for her to hold out Ukesh. That's
he may have known hard. This was coming.
Until Ukesh pushed really hard on her.
Right. So of course,
I'm not. I mean, I think that's interesting. I'm not super surprised. I mean, they've obviously messed with her. They've made her more powerful. If Ukesh is a bit upset, maybe he's not being able to focus as much. There it could be some reasons, but that is an interesting and a good point to make for sure.
Yeah. And if you look at this carefully, this scene, I think JMS had another homage here to an old movie, 1950s movie. If you ever saw the original The Thing, and how they destroyed the alien in The Thing, is that they used electricity, that they covered the corridor with electric wiring and just hit the switch on the creature. Yeah. This was almost like similar to that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't mention that in the.
No, he didn't mention, but it just really. If you go back, watch that movie with James Arness, it just literally that's what it really looks like.
Yeah, although I have to say that a lot of the commentary was them cutting up, so it wasn't like a lot of detail, a lot of background information about things that were going on. But did you know that Lita and the person that got in the encounter suit, they were married? I think.
Yeah, I remember. I heard that one of that one of the actors that played the Volon on the series, they were married.
And they all referred to that character, like we call him Kosh 2.0. Every one of them called him Kosh 2.0. They literally said throughout the whole thing they're talking about Kosh 2.0. And I'm like, I had to laugh. I'm like, that's what we've been calling him since we've seen him, So oblivious. So maybe one of you guys had heard that before, but that's just kind of like seemed natural to me. And apparently it's
I started calling him that in my head, and I didn't hear it anywhere else that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and they look in all of them. I mean, Peter and all the they were all calling him Kosh 2.0. So But I don't know where are we at? Are we at
Well,
at the point where
yeah, I mean, well, we have, Snob's kind of covered it, so we could discuss anything you like about it. He gets in the way. Delenn is kind of, sneaking in the background, tries to help the guy, and and then
he turns the evil eye towards Delenn, right? And of course that's when Sheridan reacts because he loves Delenn, so he's got to save her. He's got to be the shining knight, and in real Kosh armor, I guess, and Lorien, which that
Yeah, and he gives up the part of his life force with Kosh and Lorien's life force, and just project it out on Ukesh, and they end up fighting up on top there and getting pushed out into space toward Ukesh's ship,
which we know is a bio whatever type of ship, but it's also got Vorlon technology and almost sentience, right? It's a living ship, so and they are tied directly to. So there's almost like there's some essence from Kosh 2.0 in that ship, so that's why it's going back to that. But of course, it gets destroyed, right, in this ultimate battle. But we do see them wrestling around, and they're still firing, and there's the one guy that's constantly firing at trying to shoot the now how would you ethereal almost beings, because there's
now I didn't notice, but they have heavier guns than what the PPGs that they use.
Yeah, they're all like rifles, weren't they?
Yeah, they're like rifles and cannons, and I didn't see one of those in this scene. I was like, wait a minute, they got some heavier armament in there, and we've seen it in other tense episodes, like in the future tense episodes. Garibaldi had that freaking rifle gun that he had on there, with Sinclair, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, where's that gun?
Yeah. But the one guy just keeps on firing up that, and then the one guy gets hit, and of course that's what Delenn goes to save the guy and pull him out of the line of fire because he's injured. But I think it was kind of obviously you would have expected Sheridan to jump in to save Delenn, and that's when he takes the hit, and that's when he releases the full fury of the real Kosh. Along with the supercharging that the Lorien gave him, and of course, then you see these two ethereal, the blue and the yellow, so you could distinguish that they're individual beings, with very different light. Because Kosh was, which color was Kosh? Was he the yellow one? I think, or I don't know, because they were all kind of swirling around,
Right.
It was really good effect though,
right?
And
but
you could
tell. That Sheridan is dead again once on the floor.
Yeah, or
because if you listen to what Lorien says, he's just breathing on his embers.
Yeah, right, and you could see the little glow when he lays.
I think he was just mostly dead, not fully dead.
He was at 0 hit points. He was at 0 hit points, and he rolled his death save. But he does bring it back. The big question I've got is, at this point, did he have 20 years before this, or does he have 20 years after this? Was it always going to be 20 years, or
20 years after?
After this,
because he's breathing his embers on again, because whatever life force that he gave him originally went with Kosh.
Right, okay.
That's why he's down.
Yeah, that was something I didn't remember from originally. I thought, when he originally healed him or saved him or whatever, that it was like, that was a 20-year thing. But it seemed pretty clear that it was as a result of this. After this is when his clock started ticking.
Yeah, because I had thought, like you, Cam, that I thought he had mentioned that he had 20 years back then. On the when he saved him on the planet on Zahadum, but I have to go back and watch it again to be sure.
I don't remember that at all. I don't think so.
No? Okay, so
Yeah, we didn't see. We don't know for sure, but it's after this that he says the 20 years. And when he
Right.
goes to his test for Franklin just says there's these weird bioelectric luminescent things in your body or something. He doesn't say. Franklin doesn't tell him he's got 20 years. So
No, Franklin doesn't
yeah,
know.
Franklin would know.
To answer Outpost, they did it. He says we didn't see him giving a life force before. I said, yeah, that was off
Right.
screen because when he said, just sleep, you're dead. I'll catch you. At
Right.
that point, and that's off screen.
Right, because he's in that.
Because listen to Lorian what he says when he's explaining to Delenn some of the situation.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that scene overall, this scene was great. With the two, Kosh and Kosh 2.0, kind of basically duking it out. And I wonder if, like you said, those embers where you can kind of breathe on the embers to get the fire going again and give it some more life. Like you said, that essence went with the Kosh maybe and reinvigorated because the real Kosh that looked like, they looked identical in size and strength, really, to be honest. So,
Yeah,
and
this whole idea of a part of Kosh doesn't seem like it seems like a part can become a whole thing, or maybe it's like is an embryo of him.
they're
but
like a
still-
starfish.
Yeah, it can still become a full him pretty quick. Because they did
And
seem very even.
Well, you have to think to the point. How many times have any Volon has done this? To anyone that they've traveled the planets throughout the galaxy, but inside some sort of person or alien's body.
and they do that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is not something new to them. It's not like a new technology to them because they would do, like when you see Lita and Ukesh, it's like they were doing it like that it was like second nature to Ukesh.
Right. And of course he treated Lita like she's just a
Yeah, she treated he treated her like shit.
You're just here for my reasons, not whereas the real Kosh actually cared about her. And she even has expressed, how it was cold and angry and, different feeling, than she got with Kosh.
Mm-hmm.
So, ship destroyed. The Vorlon is gone. Of course, I'm sure that's going to piss off the Vorlons too. Do you think they know?
Oh, they already knew. The Volons are already mad at this point. They've gone mad, which was in the original storyline. That that's why they're destroying any planet that had any dealings with the shadows. They're killing millions of people. That caught in the crossfire. They're like, oh, shadows was there,
Destroyed.
Yep. Destroyed.
Yeah. So,
making a way for a hyper highway.
It doesn't seem very.
The Vorlon space construction fleet, huh?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem very, looking after your children type of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's counter to, it's almost you have to wonder if they have different factions too. You've got the War Vorlons and the Enlightened Vorlons, and now.
Well, we know from Kosh from an earlier episodes there are not that many of them left.
Yeah, I made the assumption that the Kosh is the only real enlightened Vorlon. I mean, he's the only one that deals with these other races. And remember, at the beginning of the show, the Vorlons coming to Babylon 5 is like the first thing, right? We haven't seen them; they're new, right?
Right.
So I'm assuming that Kosh is kind of like, hey, we need to start talking to these younger races a little bit, and I'm going to go myself as proof if no one else wants to do it, right? So,
yeah, maybe.
Like erasing poetry, good one.
Somebody quoting Vogon poetry. I can't wait.
Vorlon,
I want to hear some Vorlon poetry.
All right, Cam, what's next?
Okay, let's go back to deal with the Delenn stuff, the conversation with Delenn and Sheridan and Lorian. And then I guess after that we could go to the Centauri Prime stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Snob.
Snob, yeah, you talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
set the stage. What do you want to talk about? What aspect of?
I thought he
the
just
Delin
said it.
stuff?
Well,
Just
yeah,
what about Delin?
Delin.
You want to go back to the beginning where Sheridan says Ivanova's afraid, or is that?
Anything with the Delin, and I'm not. It's a relatively short scene. You've got Delin and Sheridan goes on about the whole I came back for you business, and
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on this romance aspect to this part of the show.
That's why we're making you talk about it.
Yeah, I know, because it seems a little bit, he's a little bit love struck on the whole thing, and I know that they've been all getting together, but I don't really see the whole, why they're so stuck on each other. But he goes all in, right? Like he goes all in. He's like, "Oh, I loved you." Even my old wife, I don't like. I don't like her anymore. Screw her. And
I just blew up my
wife.
wife.
I'm all in with you. I want to spend my whole life with you. Let's get married. Here's a ring. The whole 9 yards. I mean, some of the aspects, the whole when he says later on, you may only be here 2 weeks together or whatever. I mean, that aspect of it rings true to me. The whole, times of war, people are getting married. They don't know if they're going to survive this war at all. So why, seize the moment and get as much time together as you can. That rang true to me as well. But just some of their relationship just seems a little bit too, rushed for me. But putting that aside, you don't want to talk about Delin. Delin she's kind of a passenger for this whole thing. She doesn't really have much agency towards this. Oh, you're going to die in 20 years. I'm sad, but it's okay. Things will be fine.
We're going to get 20 great years.
Time. Yeah, 20 great years. I'll be 63.
Yeah, well, remember, humans in this universe live at least 100.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To that point. And that makes 20 years makes him in his 60s at that point.
Is he in his 40s?
And well, he's
that's what he says. He says, "I'll be in my 60s."
He's in his early 40s, 43 or whatever.
Maybe mid 40s, yeah.
Which kind of matches for the I mean, that's a little young to be a captain, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Especially for a war hero. So
he is. What they call him, Star Killer or something like that.
Yeah, so it's not really out of the realm. That makes sense. But so the whole idea is somewhat reasonable for him wanting to spend all the time together. So I don't have a huge problem with any of that. He just seems to be he's very into her and stuff. Yeah.
Well, from the moment he met her, he knew that he was smitten,
just
with
like
her,
Sinclair.
blah, blah, blah. Right, yeah.
Remember, he says Sheridan does say to her, says, "Listen, I know I'm giving you 20 years that we wouldn't have had
if you
how old do Minbari get?
Minbari's, I believe, 5,200. I believe.
Yeah, I think it's more like 150 would probably be typical.
150. So so I can see she's a little bit shocked because it's 60. That's like you're barely out of your teens by then, right? For Minbari, probably, or something like that. Mm-hmm. She sees that as, I can see how she sees that as
but it's hard to say because now that she has a human anatomy as well.
Yeah, she's different. And I always assumed that, the Minbari being an elder race, they probably lived longer. I'm assuming they were sort of, between the 100 to 200 years older than humans, but I don't know. And I don't think we've seen that in the show said, per se. But I can see, her reaction, and she's a little bit, scared or upset about it. I think it actually it's a good scene for highlighting some of the cultural differences between the Minbari and humans. Considering she's still culturally, even though she's a half breed, she's still culturally a Minbari. So I think that is somewhat good showing that difference there.
And if you notice how Lorianne explains the 20-year situation, and it kind of sort of almost, I guess, a little like almost macabre in a way, in certain ways, because he says, barring injury, barring illness, 20 years, when he reaches it, he'll just stop.
Yeah, like turning off a clock. Turning off.
Yeah, like turning off a clock. It's like,
wow, and that goes
what?
back to the whole tick tock. Yeah,
exactly.
So many, there are a finite number of seconds in any given life, and
I thought that sounded reasonable. He's not going to get sick. He's just going to drop off suddenly because he's being sort of kept in a sense artificially. I mean, maybe not.
That's how I hope to go.
Artificially, but it's kind of artificially, right?
Well,
like basically, Lauren has said, "I've given you X amount of this energy. It's only you use up at this much per second. So therefore, at the end, boom."
It's like it's like a battery dying. It's like,
yeah. He's just gonna died suddenly, and no explanation other than it was that his life energy was up. He expended it all. I did like the point, and I think I made a mention of this in my video. That there is a well, at any rate, it was just where he move on. I forgot it. I lost it.
Okay. Maybe final thoughts.
Oh, yeah. That's what he gets for going away for 2 weeks.
I know.
Okay. So should we go over to Centauri Prime then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's take a trip.
So the first scene starts where Londo is summoned once again by the Emperor at night. I'm not sure it's the middle of the night. And we don't see Veer in this at all, which I think there was. I think you had mentioned maybe this was when Stephen first had some health issues or some other obligations of some sort. But this, so it kind of stands out him missing, but obviously if there is issues, there's issues. But and Morden shows up. Kind of out of the shadows, and he looks better, but still bad. He's
still got some peeling skin.
yeah, he's right, but he's more like looks like a plum.
He's a little bit more of that Nivea cream.
Yeah. And they discuss. Morden talks to them about the Vorlons destroying worlds, and Londo's like, "What do you talk? Why didn't I hear this?" Kind of thing, and they're keeping it quiet apparently. And then Londo's like, no, we need him out of here. And, so he's having this kind of open debate in front of Morden. And the Emperor, and Morden once tells them that if they put their ships out there, that the Vorlons will move on to a softer target, basically, which I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense, but it's what what Morden's saying at least. So, and then they go to continue Cartagia, like Snob said, he's like, oh no, we're not going to do that. That would, that's a stupid idea. And Londo's like, oh, thank God, he thinks he's getting some sanity out of him. And then he takes him to see the heads, that he's been discussing the issue with, and then tells him that no, of course it wouldn't make any sense. We just need to let them through, so the planet will burn and light his way into godhood. Also,
let me throw this in before we go any further. Now, sure. Did you notice the first head on the table?
I was getting ready to mention that.
I don't know.
Do you know who that was on the head on the first?
I do.
Yeah, you know who it is. That's Andres Casillas, is plaster model that they put on the table.
They put
Andreas. It did look a little bit like Tomalon.
It was Andreas's head. Yeah.
It's Andreas. It's the plaster mold they used for Andreas' makeup design. So they decided to redesign it a little bit and put it on the table.
Yep.
Okay, so they did mention in here somewhere that there were hundreds of shadow ships that were on Centauri Prime, and that surprised me because I didn't remember that. That seems like a lot, given that we've well, it
Well,
just seems
remember
like a
there are
lot.
different sizes of the ships.
That's true. There are other
There are
not
the large
ships.
capital ships, and then there are the small fighters, and then the mid range fighters also.
Right.
Right. Okay. So, what do you guys think about this encounter with Cartagia and Londo and Morden?
Well, I think that Londo, Peter did a great job showing the disgust, and that he really portrayed. This has got to have a putrid smell in here.
Oh yeah,
And he was, had the kerchief, the handkerchief up to his, and he kind of was making a disgusting, grimace. He's disgusted by this, and of course, meanwhile, the emperor's just like,
Snips.
talking, and snicks, not snacks, snicks. Yeah, like it's like, and he's like, no. Yeah, he probably threw it. Clearly, the emperor is insane. Now at this point, Londo not only thinks he's insane, he knows he's insane. This is 100%, no doubt. He seriously thinks he's going to become a god, and he's gonna destroy Centauri Prime, and so he goes through and hatches, sort of an idea of, well, let's feed into his delusions, And I think that was kind of an ingenious way. Let's feed into this megalomania, apotheosis, which apparently means a man becoming a god. That's apparently what the word means. So he wants to ascend to godhood, and he's going to, what a more glorious way to do it than than the destruction of the burning of Centauri Prime. It's like, okay, so oh, but somebody, man who should walk among the stars, the living God, yada yada yada, and he just kind of plays into it to
Well, let's get to that in a minute.
I don't. I like to just mention. I don't know how does Cartagia think this is going to work, right? Like it just highlights his insanity. He's like, okay, so the Vorlons told you to put the ships up there. You're not going to do it. So now when the Shadows told you to put the ships up there. So now the Vorlons arrive. They're going to say, the Shadows are going to destroy the planet. Oh, quick, let's ascend you to godhood at the same time.
Well,
are they just going to take off and ignore him? How does he figure this works? Is it just
he's mad? I mean, the actor's playing him so well on Cartagia.
He does.
Mm-hmm. He's doing such a great job. The actor that's playing this, because he's just sitting there like he's all comfortable. Says, "I'm going to be a god." Oh,
yeah, it just was implied a couple episodes ago that the Vorlons would make him a god, but now he's just sort of like saying it's just going to happen magically when
the
planet's destroyed. I mean,
Apotheosis brings up a good point that what's a massive sacrifice of billions of people. That's crazy god delusion kind of stuff, right? That's like, oh, I'll sacrifice all these lives and that will elevate me. So it I wouldn't expect it to make too much sense, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense.
Makes
he's gone from the Vorlons elevating him to it's just going to happen when I destroy this, when this planet gets destroyed.
Yeah, it's kind of he's just kind of he literally is Nero.
Yeah,
essentially he is the epitome of Nero. He's the insane emperor.
Yeah, literally burning.
And the in the commentary they were I forget whether it was Peter or Bruce that said, I think it was Peter. He said, he was really leaning into like David Bowie. He was kind of that was what the actor that was portraying Cartagia was doing was kind of almost embracing that kind of persona for this role. So
Yeah, no, look how his walk, the way he just
Yep.
sits down,
Yeah.
like
He
when
throws his tails up.
tails up and everything. He does it with a flair. Even
Yeah.
though
He does a good
he's
job.
massively insane, but he has a flair to it. That's why I like this particular actor.
He's a great
doing this
actor.
role. Yeah,
He's a great
he's
actor.
doing a fantastic job on this role.
I still
Yeah.
don't think he was looking up skirts. maybe he was trying to look up something else, but skirts, I don't know. At least the character, but
earlier on, Morden said, remember what Morden said earlier? He goes, the Vorlons are not going to come here. Where would they kill like freaking, a planet of this size?
Yeah,
they'll kill all the little small ones, but they ain't going to come here.
Right, but
Yeah.
but you did see Londo reach out to
Londo reached
Sheridan.
out to Sheridan to ask him.
Let's get to that here.
Well, let me ask before. Do you think that Morden is correct? That
No,
Vorlons
absolutely
are-
not.
Yeah, that's an excellent
Vorlons
question.
are not going to go this far.
What is Morden thinking? Does he believe it, or is he
Does he
got
know?
some ulterior?
I think he's
purpose?
insane too.
Is he been just told to say this?
Or there's something coming.
Do the shadows really believe?
The
that
shadows
Vorlons
haven't responded from the Sheridan's blowing up of Zahadum.
Do the shadows really think that the Vorlons are just going to keep picking on these tiny little outposts and small planets? They won't go for the big stuff.
Well, I want to know why anyone thinks that they have ships that can take on a Vorlon ship. We know that the assuming they're roughly equivalent to the shadows in power, right? If not more. The only way they take down shadow ships is by specific trickery. Why would anyone think that they could block a Vorlon fleet? I don't think Londo does. I think.
Yeah, what I took from what Morden was saying was that the Vorlons are only they have some sort of. He thinks that they have some sort of limit. They'll only destroy small planets of a couple million people. They're not going to destroy these giant planets that are got tons of ships and billions of people on it. That's what. And so if you just make a show of force, they'll just go, okay, well, there's just too many people here to kill. We still have some morals. We're not going to kill this many people, only small amounts. That's what Morden seems to be saying.
Well,
to me, I don't know if it's true or not.
They've already killed millions, right?
Yeah, it seems a little bit. Well, there's a difference between millions and billions, but I just think it seems a little bit. It implies that the shadows don't know how far the Vorlons have gone, because I think they've gone completely off the deep end, and I think they will. They'll be happy to destroy Centauri Prime. They don't care.
Well, Franklin says something earlier on. That's when they mentioned that the Vorlons are attacking these world, and the reason on there, they're trying to cut out the situation, and he goes into a medical term and he says, well, in a disease, you cut out the disease, but you might take some parts of the flesh that are not diseased itself, and that would make it all a whole again.
Yeah, infection,
yeah. You did do a good comparison. I think one of the reasons why the Vorlons have gone mad, as the line goes, is because Kosh probably was the voice of reason in the Vorlon group, and they no longer have that.
Mhm.
So they no longer have someone who can be rational and try to counterpoint Kosh 2.0.
Outpost, you're jumping ahead a little bit. Just his last response. You're jumping out a little bit.
Okay, let's go to the conversation with Londo. Sheridan is there on Babylon 5, and surprisingly, he gets a call from Londo, and he's like, he's portrayed as being surprised, and he's like, well, go ahead, put it through. And Londo has a very constructive discussion with him. He obviously he's asking about Centauri Prime. Are they coming this way? And Sheridan shares the information with him. I liked this scene a lot, but it was a bit strange that they were so trusting of each other, and maybe it's reflecting how dire the situation is. It's like we can't afford to let anything else get. This is it. This is the whole thing right now.
Right. I mean, he basically wants to know, is it true that the Vorlons are just attacking planets where the ships are, and how far, are they headed this way, and how far out? And I mean, Sheridan gives, I think, because the Emperor is not, that information is not getting disseminated amongst the
7 or 8
Centauri.
days.
Yeah, he says 7 or 8 days, and later on, the Emperor does confirm. Oh yes, 7 days, 7 days. When that's of course later on.
Yeah,
So we know we've
7
got 7
days.
days.
I'd agree with Cam there, but also I think the other aspect of it is, there's that aspect, but there's also the fact that none of this information is secret. Like, it's like, this is pretty common knowledge. They're destroying planets, so he's just confirming what everybody in all the other League of Non-Aligned Worlds know. I mean, maybe the idea that they're heading towards Centauri Prime and they'll be there in 7 days that might be a little bit secret, or a little bit more, not common knowledge. But other than that, everything else is pretty much everyone else knows it anyway.
Well, I mean, but it, again, it's not being, that information is being withheld to the Centauri.
Yeah,
So,
I like how
while the
Londo
rest of
puts
the
it.
world,
He says, "Have the Volons gone mad?"
yeah. And the one thing that Londo does tell Sheridan is, I owe you a favor, and I think that favor.
Yeah, I thought that was a good line, a good point there.
I think that may tie into the flash forward that we saw.
Foreshadowing.
I think that's part of Londo sort of I mean, not apologizing, but suggesting that he's, they are not perhaps on the same side, but have common interests, and that he's, looking to make amends to some extent by saying that.
Well,
that
the enemy
he's
of my
calling me for a
enemy,
favor.
and Londo is
Yeah,
not
some
on
of that
board.
too.
Not on board with what's going on. He's trying to save his people.
Of course.
Obviously the Emperor doesn't give a shit. So, somebody has to, and everybody else is afraid of the Emperor, and he's kind of like, he's got this is the diplomatic navigation challenge of his entire life that he's trying to maneuver in. And I think all roads are leading up to, throughout everything that he's done throughout his life is leading up to this point to hopefully help save his people.
Yeah, and I really love this scene because it shows Londo he's locked in. He's got a goal. He's acting on it. He's using whatever resources he has, and he's rational. He's and he's not following some personal benefit.
This is for the greater good of his people. He actually
the explanation on the throne where he's like, when we're gone, who's going to know the god Kataja?
Well, let's get to that scene. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, basically, it's Londo gets into conversation with Kataja, and he's like saying like, that the Volons are coming, and he's like, wait, I'm okay with this. Hey, listen, Centauri Prime, go burn, baby. We're okay with that. But there's a bit of a problem. When we're gone, nobody's going to know who you are. Who's going to worship your temples? Who's going to know about you?
Yeah.
So, I was going to say about what Cartagia said. You can talk about it if you want.
No, go ahead.
Cartagia's like, oh, really? I mean, so Cartagia's nuts, but he's not stupid, right?
He's not stupid either.
He's like, oh, really? Because he's like, oh, Lando's going to conveniently make it so he doesn't die, right? I mean, he's
right. Yeah, that was a good.
He said,
that was a good
sidebar
there. He says, do you want to get
away?
Away?
Yeah, right.
Londo, be right by your side the whole time.
By your side, yeah. And again, the way Londo plays, he plays Cartagia very well, right? But Cartagia is not a pushover, in terms of this,
And saying yes, stupid no. You're exactly right.
Right. And so, but he does convince him, he actually gets him to agree. And then the part that's really a stretch, though, is the idea about the trial on Narn.
Yeah,
Man,
he says 3 days there, 3 days back, one day for trial. You know, and he's like, not even he goes, not even a day, half a day. You know,
Yeah, because we already know he's guilty.
we know he's guilty on that. And Lando puts it in. He says that I will finally get to kill Jakar. You know, to that point.
Right. And he leverages that bit because that's what Cartagia has gone in with the assumption. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you want to get rid of Jakar. This is you are pursuing your own goals, which is why he was gifted to him, of course.
Yeah, and then Cartagia's like, oh, you are wise, Lando. You know, you are so right. Yes, we shall do this. You know, it's like, you know, and he's like, his insanity is just like, yeah, he's right. I need people to worship me.
And this is what I was alluding to earlier, where he is trying to play into the insanity, but in a very logical manner. You know what I mean? He's like saying, no, look, you want people to know about you. How is the rest of the galaxy going to get to know the living God that walks among the stars? You know, and so on and so forth, and playing into that megalomaniac, insane delusion at the same time as appeasing and saying, well, no, I'm going to get what I want because I'm going to get to kill Jakar, right? You know, and you will be, they'll sing your praises, and the Narns will know, and they will talk about it for eons,
All right. Let's go ahead and finish up with the last scene where you've got Cartagia and Jakar, and he calls.
But right before that, remember they showed right before that the fleet massing in front of Babylon 5.
Yeah. I was going to talk about that.
There's a large amount of fleet passing by. You know, Garibaldi mentions, this is a hell of a lot of ships and more on the way. The captain wants the biggest. Apotheosis says we want the biggest in history. If we're going to end this war, there are things that are shaping up out there, and it looks like it might. And then what? What?
Right.
If we lose, then what? And if we win, what next? We're still renegades. I don't think anyone left on this side of the galactic core. We haven't honked off yet. We can't go home. And sometimes I don't think know what scares me more, winning or losing.
Right.
God, I thought that was depressing. Nevada says.
Yeah. We if we win, what happens, and if we lose, what happens? It's all kind of it's a no-win situation. Is I think the point that that's being made there. That
I'm forced to wonder how much of that is Garibaldi talking and how much of that is, instruction to demoralize people.
You mean like the audience?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But then we switch back to Centauri Prime in Jakar's cell, and the Cartagia is upset. He's like, I don't like how he looks at me. And he's like, and Lando's like, well, we're ready to go, and do what you got to do, to appease yourself to the situation. And Lando walks out, and Cartagia looks at her and says, no, I don't care the way he looks at me. Pluck out his eye.
Do something about it. Pluck out his eye. Yes.
Pluck out his eye.
Which
and
one?
The guard's like, which one?
I don't care.
He goes like kind of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That one.
That one. And then that horrifying thing, and he walks out, the door closes, and that's going on in there, and there's not a scream or anything, and then it fades to credits.
Yeah, that's a punch out ending there, right?
And it's like, holy shit, what the
good ending.
What a hell of a to close out the episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you were half expecting screams too, and you expected,
you expected like, ah!
Yeah, I mean, but Jakar's probably like, what's that compared to the 29 level whip?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, I'm sure, a very torturous thing, because I'm sure it's not going to be quick either. I'm sure they're just not going to pluck it out quickly. So, but he's not going to give him the Emperor the satisfaction.
Again, in a way, JMS is plugging in a way religious tones, even though they didn't pluck the eye out of Jesus Christ. But Jesus, in the biblical, that he was tortured, crown of thorns,
Yeah,
situation. And this is coming from a writer that's
it's an
who's
atheist. Yeah.
he's an atheist, and meanwhile, he's using
There's
some
a
religious.
lot of various religious type symbology. I mean,
Yeah,
even when you first see Jakar before he's forced to look like a jester wearing the
Yeah.
crown, right?
right,
Which of course that's
Right.
symbolic of the crown of thorns, right?
Yeah, right.
He's on that arm thing, that's of course symbolic of where Christ was carrying the cross member of the cross, and
Right.
and it and then of course you've got what we talked about at the beginning, with Sheridan, and kind of
Exactly.
that yeah. So there's a lot of that just kind of sprinkled throughout this episode and several of these episodes, these first 4 episodes.
Yeah, you see at the beginning, Sheridan, the light of Sheridan coming in to, move the people away while to that, and then it's sort of similar to Palm Sunday in a way to that situation.
Right.
And then you have Jakar, of course, the torture on the Pontius Pilate, to the situation where Christ is being tortured. You get to the end, so you have both that kind of category within this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so.
And the thing about it is, you always seen this in a lot of science fiction, that you have remedies back to religion. Like for example, The Matrix. How many scholars have talked about The Matrix? To the Revelations, and I'm surprised not a lot of scholars have talked about Babylon 5 in the same way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Okay, so I think I think we've hit all the points there. Anybody have anything we missed?
Oh, the point that I was trying to make earlier was that we find out Lorien is not a god, and that he tells Delenn, he's like, I can only, kind of reinforcing about blowing on the embers, I cannot create life. I can
Right,
only,
and he actually says there's nothing that what he does is not divine. It's just moving energy.
It's just moving energy.
Moving
yeah.
energy, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not. There's no magic involved. Well, maybe there's magic if you to
It's
a lesser
science.
but even the doctor, kind of has some sort of biological explanation for what what's going on. So there is some sort of scientific explanation, some root in it,
Mhm.
and it seems a reason that an advanced species such as Lorien would be capable of doing such a thing.
Yeah, I think there's a good scene with Lorien coming up that I really like, kind of along these same lines, which I guess will be coming up in just a few episodes. But we'll see that when it comes, I guess. All right, anybody else?
Only 2 episodes left.
Right before
the key, I think the most, sort of the scene that makes us look forward. I think we covered everything, but it's the very beginning where Sheridan and Lorien are talking about, you failed to save them all. That whole exchange, I think, is interesting, and I assume we're going to see something about that later on, but we'll see.
Keith studied.
Keith
Yeah, he
Studley,
mentioned
that's
something.
a good point here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought
Great Machine. Why would the Great Machine? I thought that was a little bit. Who does he tell? He tells someone to go investigate that. I guess we'll see more.
Franklin.
Of it later, maybe,
he tells Franklin, move the people down to what you can, down to the.
Why would the Great Machine want refugees on its planet? Yeah, and I mean, there's only the guy who's running the machine, and then Zathras, who are only on the.
Well, Zathras
as far as we know,
Zathras isn't the only one there.
Wow. He has his,
then one other guy. We've only seen 3 guys
that we know of.
But there's no suggestion that there's millions of people down there, and then they could look after all these refugees.
I thought that was strange.
A handful of them.
I thought that was strange.
Yeah, I thought it was a little strange.
They were talking about the refugees that there's going to be 10,000, maybe 20,000 a day showing up at some point, and that obviously Babylon 5 is not going to be able to handle it. So
Right. That's a good point. Garibaldi had his again demoralizing speech about that before Sheridan came
he's
in.
good at that, isn't he?
Yeah, seems to be. Where he was talking about that they're already over capacity of 200, quarter million, and there's more, and it's going to turn into chaos, which he has a point.
Yeah, he does. He does. One of the things they were mocking Jerry Doyle for is they said, you've got dents in the side of your head. And they were like, he's like, well, when I was born, they used the forceps and he's like, well, use the forceps what, to get you out of the med bay? It's just kind of the whole thing. It was funny because there was like 5 of them, and they were just literally ragging on each other nonstop. Saying that Bruce was reading his lines off the bone on her head. And oh, you smudged the line. And just kind of it was kind of funny. But this, they were really cutting up on what otherwise is really a kind of a pivotal episode where we're drawing up to the climax clearly, and so it's a they were having fun with it, but from the first watch I did of this, it's definitely a pressing thing. Things are we're about at the proverbial dung hitting the fan moment is about to happen. That's definitely pressed upon us clearly.
Yeah.
So
good to see you in the chat, Hoodall. Good to see you.
Yeah, man.
Okay, should we go to?
Let's go to our new feature.
Yeah.
Try it out. Okay. Let me put this up. I don't know if this is how good this is or whatever. We'll give it a try. So Monday morning quarterbacking. Does this work? No, that doesn't work.
Put us all down at the bottom.
There we go. I can't do it because I got it set up. I got to change the way it's set up. But anyway.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first? With
anybody want to quarterback this? What they change?
I'll take it. I think we could have done without the open segment, or it should have been redone in somewhat. For the reason is it was as a Monty Python would say, it was a silly thing, wasn't it? Yeah, that whole segment, the woman was just way out there as far as the role and all that. Please help me, please. But they could have done it in a different way.
Yeah.
To the point, it could have been someone that gotten injured or someone on there, and people just her being like really getting really injured, and then I would done something toward like a light would shine, but it not a real light, but in a way a light shining on there, and then Sheridan coming over from that light, which is actually something shining from the ceiling from there. But it's like to that moment, and you see the shadow of Sheridan coming over, reaching his hand out. Not whereas, they said from the other angle, you just see his hand coming down and says, okay, come on, let's go.
Yeah. I think maybe if they, the extras maybe had been in kind of like a hush, like buzz or like, oh my God, is that, it just kind of like parting of the, the people and stuff like that, kind of like make way for the,
Mm-hmm. I would have done it more of a panic. That people were panicking.
Or a pressing, or a panic, or anything, because they were just kind of milling about, like, and then there's just this lady that's just falls on the floor for no reason. It's like there was no explanation for why she fell. At least the scene didn't convey that. She just did.
She had unreasonable shoes.
Is that what it is? Nonsensible shoes.
Yeah, right.
Dollar store shoes.
Anything else? Armchair quarterbacking, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff that Snob had mentioned is true. The some and you with regards to Garibaldi's kind of. It could have been played up a little bit better, or it could have been more thoughtfully detailed. To as for why, other than Zach, Garibaldi is the only one that doesn't trust this new guy all of a sudden, and it's kind of like, but everybody else does. It's just kind of like you're right. They should all be kind of a little suspicious of this fast new friend that they've got, and I think they could have played into it a little bit more.
Yeah. As I've already talked about, the whole, I think they've undercut the entire Garibaldi storyline. But I'm thinking back to, it's like, well, what if they didn't show him on a shadow ship? What if they didn't show him with Psychor? They didn't show him in captivity, and then just, oh, he was on the ship and now he ejected and got caught. Would that be enough to not undercut it? And I'm not sure it would, because it's like, even if you eliminated all those other things, it's still, well, he was in someone's hands and something happened to him. So
yeah, he's gone for 2 weeks.
Right. So, I
We
don't
don't-
know that it can be fixed. It's
And we don't know. We don't know why he was taken by the shadow, and we don't know
No.
how he became.
But we do know that he was.
Yeah. Yes, we do know that he was. But we have no idea why,
Right.
and we have no idea how he went from being in the possession of the shadows to suddenly being in the possession of Psychor.
Right.
There's no explanation for it,
Right. So,
or even a hint at it.
right. But again, from, we see the beginning and we see the current state.
Mhm.
What happens in between doesn't matter so much right now, only that we have reason to say, well, clearly what he's doing now is because of whatever that is, even though we can't, clearly explain it.
Right.
And again, it just makes it uninteresting to me. So that's a problem. The other thing, and this isn't really a specific to this episode, is that they've let things with Earth just sit for far too long. It's going to create problems later where I'm going to go back and say, why didn't they do something with Earth leading up to this more? And it's like he can't keep that many plates spinning, I guess. But I think there should have been, because again, the shadows are all over Earth, right? Or deep in with infiltrating Earth at least, right? And yet there is no talk about the Vorlons going to Earth. No one even mentions it. No one thinks about it.
All we know is that they're destroying these outposts that
Right.
that's the only thing we know of that were refugee stations.
Maybe it would have been interesting if it's like, oh, they did destroy some Earth colony, a mining colony or something,
Yeah. That was a
it's
refugee
just,
station.
it's like it's a forgotten storyline. It's like the Earth situation in Babylon 5 is almost an afterthought.
And we're 4 episodes in and we've not heard anything. And how much did we hear towards the end of season 3?
Well, right, exactly. It's late. It's basically laid fallow for half a season.
At least 7 or 8 episodes, if not more, since we last talked about Earth. I mean, the last closest thing we got was Bester, right?
Yeah.
Well, remember that there has been a massive change onto the situation. The originality was that this whole season 4 was supposed to be dedicated to the Shadow War, and season 5 was supposed to be dedicated back to Earth. So it was there was supposed to be some type of messaging, to the situation in between in the scripting, what's going on back on Earth, the situation. But like I said it before. So many changes that has happened on season 4. It's unfair what happened to JMS to this point, and how much that he had to change just to get this show finished.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and and not just Earth. What's going on with Mimbar?
Right.
We haven't heard anything about Mimbar. I mean, clearly Mimbar has got, what's going on with the struggle. Is Delin becoming the whatever, the head of the Rangers? Is that it to the end? I mean, we don't know. The last thing we saw with the Mimbar was when what's his name? Went up against the
Naroon.
Minbari and Naroon, yeah. So we haven't, and he finally he yielded for that, but we don't. Is he in charge of the entire military cast? Is his word final for the rest of them? They're not. What's going on?
Well,
We
we
were
have to
kind of.
wait.
Well, yeah, okay, we'll have to wait, but still, it's
Mhm.
there hasn't been any, even an occasional scene here or there throughout the episodes, just kind of a keep it in your mind what's
Mhm.
going on, just to kind of remind you that while this is going on, there's other stuff happening in the galaxy.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
remember, we're finishing this storyline in 2 episodes.
Yeah. Well, it's not, again, this is Monday morning quarterbacking,
didn't know that.
but you know,
Thanks for telling
it's
me.
Yeah, exactly. No, we want a quarterback, but understand that this is being finished. The Shadow story will be finished in 2 episodes.
yeah, and I understand your point that this was, a rush job, right? Because they're trying to fit it all in. But I mean, it's kind of amazing. I mean, literally, it's like the end. When did he find out that there was after season 3? Presumably, it's like nope, season 4 is it.
It was like towards the end of season 3 that they were starting to get inklings on there because, like I said, I forgot what date. What was the year of the date on this? This was 96 or 97?
96.
96.
Yeah.
Okay, 97. The P10 company folds in 97, and basically this is the point. WB is trying to figure out the situations on there, and that's why there was that big switch to TNT. And of course, TNT was sitting there like, oh, we don't want science fiction. We already did. We already did the what do they call it? We've talked to people on there. We've done inquiries. And said, "Oh, do you like science fiction on our channel? No, we don't like it." I said, well, I guess we're gonna have to get rid of Babylon 5.
Yeah. A reminder that we go back to episode 14 of season 3 when we saw Bester last, I believe, when that
Mhm.
Ship of Tears. So it's been a long time
It
really
has
not
been.
dealing with Earth stuff. Snob, what about you?
I mean, you guys covered it. If just looking at this episode, the only thing I would say would need to be cleaned up would be the whole the first opening scene with the
Right.
I've fallen, I can't get up. Oh, woe is me. Even pushing a couple more extras, making it look more full or something like that. But
Right.
the other points that you guys brought up are all good points as well. But if I'm sticking just to this episode and what's already in there, cleaning that up a bit would be the only criticism I'd have. I will mention that the one thing we haven't seen anything which is I'm not sure if we haven't been shown this on purpose or what's going on, but we haven't seen anything about Sheridan being suspicious of Garibaldi at all for being away for these 2 weeks. Everyone is sort of bugging him, but we don't know what Sheridan's thoughts are on this thing. And that kind of goes back to the whole. I mean, he says, "I'm keeping Garibaldi." He tells Garibaldi he's keeping him out of the loop because he doesn't want Kosh 2.0 to read his mind. But are there other things in there that Sheridan's thinking behind? But we see nothing to suggest this at all. So I think that's kind of interesting.
I think the whole crew should be suspicious of both of them.
Mhm.
All of your lead characters, especially, should be suspicious of both Garibaldi because he went missing, and the captain because he went missing and presumed dead, and now he's back from the dead. And this is like, are we sure this is the real captain? Are we sure this is not a ruse or did there should be some confusion among people, and I don't know. As far as the other thing, I think that there could have been news reports, something as simple as news reports that were received that would have been, talking about, a Minbari colony was destroyed by the Vorlons, and we've got word that Earth has been taking on shadow ships and this and that and there's something like that just sprinkled throughout the episodes would have kind of kept that thought alive.
Yeah. Keith Studley, that you said interesting to have a outline for the original arc. I think that is out there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It is.
It's in 14 volumes. If
Oh,
you can
just
find them, they're about they're about $60 a book. If you want to know for this on here for this area, that would be volume 14.
So it'd be like about $800 or $900 for the whole set. Jeez.
Well, it depends. If you go to eBay or something like that, you might be able to get it cheaper
Or more.
or more. But no, the part you want to look at if you're talking about this section of the story, it is volume 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Ready for final?
Yeah,
opinion?
we got 12 people watching, and we're almost done. 2 hours. Let's finish this off. Thanks everybody for coming by for sure. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Help us out with that darn algorithm.
And super chats, man. You know, help
sticking
us
it
pay
to
the
us.
restream bill.
All right. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so final thoughts. Why don't we start with Madman? Go ahead.
I gotta give. Well, I would have given this at least a 9.5. I got to go with a 9 with this. The reason is that opening segment kind of like threw it off a bit, but the rest of this story is well done. Lorian, great acting as far as that. Kataja, straight on target. Londo, straight on target to the situation. And there were little crazy things in between. Garibaldi, Ivanova, and just a little tinge of Franklin, which is okay. And we do accept a little bit of Franklin, not a lot of a Franklin, but just a little bit to the back. The whole situation with the Volons going completely mad, blowing up planets and stuff like that, and they're on their way to Centauri Prime in 7 or 8 days, and Jakar getting his eye plucked out with a scary ending that you're just like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? So 9 out of 10.
Narns only need one eye. Jeff.
Well, Madman covered a lot of it. I think a lot of the things that we've seen leading up to this in the flash forwards and whatnot, and the flashbacks for that matter, from both Londo and from that, we're now seeing how all these puzzle pieces are fitting together and where we're headed with this, and like for example in the flash forward, we saw Jakar, we saw Londo on the throne. Of course, at that point, he has shadow minders watching over him, right? But we see Jakar come out from behind the curtains, and we see that patch, and we're like, well, how the hell did that happen? Well, now we know how that happened. We just explained it. So these puzzle pieces are now joined together, and the picture is starting to present itself as far as where we're going. As I said, I think it was a little bit of a disservice to the show to not keep the other storylines on what's going on some of the other, particularly on Earth, particularly as well as Minbar. What's going on with those? Just kind of like forgetting about that, and we're just going to talk about the Shadow War, and that's it. And then to hear, there's only 2 more episodes, and boom, we're going to wrap up the Shadow War. It's like, it should have been a little more. There should have been a little more sprinkled through, and it wouldn't have been hard to do. And yeah, that first scene, I think I'm going to give this. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5. That's my. I think 8.5. It's a strong 8.5, but that's
all right. Strong 8.5.
Yeah.
Cam.
Okay. I really am. This is different from what I remember. Or my reaction is different, I should say. The stuff with Babylon, the Babylon 5 portion, meaning on Babylon 5 of it, it feels weak to me. I'm not enjoying it very much at all, to be honest with you. And it's like a 6 for me at this point. However, the Centauri Prime stuff is like a 9 plus. It's really hitting well. If I was to and the last episode was kind of the same way for me. Centauri Prime is really holding up the rest. I guess the Garibaldi thing really bugs me. The way that they did that, it's just wasted potential. And I know there's something to it. Well, we all know there's something to it, but so overall, I don't know. Can I get to a 7? I guess average.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Disavow. All right. Thanks, Cam. Yeah, for me, I think everybody's brought up good points. I don't disagree with anything. I felt this one was pretty good overall. Not one of the best episodes ever, but good, solid. Pushes the plot forward. Good acting, especially by Garibaldi. I think I really like the Zach scene. I didn't say it earlier. I like the way Zach is coming across when he's talking to Garibaldi and stuff. I think it's pretty. It was really well done. Good acting overall by everybody. So yeah, I'm got 8.5, a little bit higher than I would normally give to stuff, but very solid overall. I didn't have as much trouble with some of the things that Cam mentioned, but I don't disagree per se.
I think Londo and Cartagia stole the scene.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
episode, for sure.
You're right. That whole scene is just building. I wish there was a little more towards it. We'd see a little bit, but you can only put so much in. Mm-hmm. But it's coming to and just I normally watch the opening sequence of the next episode at the end, so just before the credits. So I do know that there's like the opening scene. I'll spoil it. There we get to see the Shadows version of a planet killer, and we also have a scene with Londo directly conspiring with other Centauri as to what they got to do something. So yeah, maybe I'll watch that episode right after this because I'm kind of curious to see what they're going on if I have the time. All right, so that's great. Okay, what's coming up? Madman, what's coming up on your channel?
Oh yes, this week we got the new Netflix type DVD by mail company that just opened up. We got a video on that. Internet provider shut down without notice. Next week, Tuesday, Madman Cafe. We still working on that, but a little bit of a teaser for Madman with the show. We're dealing with obscenity laws next week because there's a congressman out of Indiana trying to push that. An art website has banned a particular artist because his art was too good. And MeTV Tunes has brought onto their lineup 2 great Hanna-Barbera classics. We'll be talking about that next week.
All right. And just for everybody else, when Outpost Nerd is not trolling me on this show, he has his own channel, Nerd at Night, where he talks about various things. Some of the latest things he's got, he did a review of Masters of the Universe for sure. That's done. A couple other things as well. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go check that out. But go check out there. He's I think I'm not sure if he did the review of the other one as well, but for sure Masters of the Universe.
He's doing a review show of the worst movies
right,
also.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
He's doing like the worst movies that were on. I don't know if it was Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. He's going through those films as well. That's coming up on his show. It's something. It's
not a bad idea. Find the worst movies and do a review of them.
Yeah, he was bouncing that idea off me while I was driving, and I stopped and I said, "Yeah, I think that's a good idea."
All right, Jeff.
Oh, let's see. Well, we have BK Gibson coming up on the Bad News Bards this Sunday, and the channel has been rebranded with the flagship show's name. So the channel is now The Bad News Bards, and you popped it up there for me already. I see. People kept on getting tongue twisted, and I wanted to solve that and nip that in the bud. And after talking to some folks at both CNYCon, after CNYCon, I was talking to several people, and they said, "Yeah, you should go with the flagship name." And I talked to Cam, and we decided. I decided, but he gave his stamp of approval, I think, right? But we do have other shows on there. This Friday at 8 p.m. we have Grognard's Assemble, I think we're going to be talking, maybe talking a little bit about the con because Dan was there with me, and the two cons. He was actually at both cons, and then of course we're going to have the show on Sunday. BK Gibson, actually sci-fi fantasy author, husband and wife duo. Really kind of cool. And they do tabletop stuff as well. So kind of an all around, going to be a fun show. So I think they've got some stuff, Snob, that even you might be interested in.
Even me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will we get more of your menu from your trip?
My menu.
How
Let's
many
see. I had
Denny's did you-
nachos the first day.
How many Denny's
Okay,
did you hit from
say that
freaking
for that
Texas
show.
to New York?
Just I did not stop at a damn Denny's at all in New York. I had some Chinese food. I had some we went to
Upstate
Olive
Chinese
Garden.
food. Oh,
And, yeah.
no. Next time you're up here, we're gonna take you to Chinatown.
Oh no, this was authentic. This was about as authentic as you can get because the girl barely spoke English.
Oh no, we got some great. There's like a bunch of great little holes in the wall here in New York, and some big places. Wool hops and all that are fantastic in the Chinese food.
Cats. This was I like that.
All right, come on. No herding the cats here. Come on, guys. All right.
Was that you playing that?
You have to go to Jeff's channel to find out about what he had on his trip.
Yeah, I've got some videos. I got some videos coming. I recorded an unboxing yesterday, and I've got to put that together. And then I've got this thing here is all stuff that I got, and it's heavy. I can't lift it. That's all stuff I picked up from at CNYCon because I drove, so I had the space. So I got a bunch of stuff, and actually I've got some stuff that's going to be part of our giveaway on July 5th. So we've got a July 5th giveaway. You do have to be subscribed to the channel to win. But we've got some autographed prints. I got an autographed book. And we may have some stuff from Troll Lord Games, some all kinds of stuff. I got all kinds of stuff, PDFs from Matt Finch and all kinds. Any rate, somebody's angrily typing at me.
All right,
RP Grandpa. What about RP Grandpa? RP Grandpa. You mean RPG? I mean RP. Yeah, he's gonna be on.
Okay, so
Cam is typing, so please.
Next Wednesday at same time, same channel, we have The Long Night, Episode 5, Babylon 5, Season 4. And what are we doing on Top Lefty Lounge? Something brand new.
I'll talk to you about that. I gotta suggest. We'll talk to you about it after.
Okay.
And let me mention also Dean, who is our one of our other guest co-panelists. His shows are listed here. He's got his RPG Untold Destiny, which is doing really well. He's got an interesting way of doing things. The combat's pretty nice. It's a lot more. You got a lot more involved, but go check him out, and he'll tell you more about it. And they got lots of videos on there and the lives where you can ask questions and all that stuff. It's good. And he's awake right now, apparently working on the stuff. He's been talking to me in the.
Yeah, it's good. We did
notifications.
We did it
on X, but we got to finish that off. All right. Yeah, and Cam basically did everything else on this channel. I will mention though that occasionally we have a pop-up snob, a new show that I'm doing. It'll just pop up at any time. Make sure you got the notifications on. It'll just pop up. We'll talk about something science fiction related. Maybe there'll be one tomorrow.
Just
Maybe
like
not.
a mugger coming out of the bushes.
That's right, coming out of the bushes and just saying, "Give me your wallet." Damn it. There might be one tomorrow, or maybe not, or who knows.
Don't forget for Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Check out Jason's channel, Sci-Fi for Me TV. I didn't see today's episode, but it's
great episode today.
Topic. What was the topic again?
Basically talking about basically the executives, the movie executives don't just understand science fiction.
Yeah,
they don't get us.
They don't get us. Yeah, there's something going on with with I guess they're trying to redo Star Wars and try to
Hashtag
fix
save Stargate.
and
Go watch
Stargate.
Jason's channel and find out.
Find out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I dropped
Yeah,
a link.
that's really good.
Dropped a link. Follow it and find out
Yeah,
what all's
follow it and
going
find
on.
out. There it is right there. All right. That's it for the show, everybody. Thanks everybody for coming by. Please leave a like and subscribe on the way out. Help out us little guys. Beat the algorithm. Evil algorithm's always screwing us over. And thanks for we had steady 11, 12, 14 people throughout the show. That's good. We enjoy that. Thanks everybody putting your input. And hey, come on, don't be afraid to give your input. We like talking with the chat. That's what we're all about. All right, everyone. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Good night.
Buenas nachos.